What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going for a deep dive analysis on the new job class, Taekwon. But before we start the video, do you have problems AFK grinding in ROX? Do you always worry that you may overcharge or the battery of your phone, tablet, or laptop may overheat? Do you worry about your electricity bill when grinding using your personal computer that is running for days non-stop? Or do you encounter intermittent connection from your internet service provider, which disconnects your character when AFK grinding? Well, if that is the case, then UgPhone can solve all of your problems. UgPhone is a cloud phone that runs independently in the cloud, and it does not consume the memory or battery of your physical device. Even if you close the UgPhone app, your game will still continue to run in the cloud, which makes this the perfect phone for AFK grinding for 24 hours, 7 days a week non-stop.
Nice.
You can also run multiple instances of UgPhone in one account, which allows you to play and grind multiple games simultaneously. As you can see, my Shura and Royal Guard are AFK grinding at the same time. UgPhone is available in Google Play for Android, App Store for iOS, Windows Store for PC, and you can also use a web browser to run UgPhone. So if you want to try out UgPhone, you can use my link shown in the description below. And you can also use my invitation code, which really helps me out. So thank you guys, and thank you UgPhone for the sponsor. Now let's get back to the video. So first, let's start with the basics. What is the recommended build for a Taekwon? If we check the recommended build in the game, a Taekwon only has one build, which is a physical penetration build. The main stat for the build is strength, vitality, and dexterity. Also, if you read the description below, it seems like the Taekwon is built for PvP. Now that we have a general idea on the build of a Taekwon, let's check out the skills. Since the Taekwon just came out a few days ago, I will be checking the skills from the lowest to the highest, meaning from Taekwon to Stellar Fist. So first, what are the skills for the Taekwon class? There are only 9 skills available for the Taekwon class, 3 passive skills and 9 active skills. If we read through the Taekwondo skill, it shows that the Taekwon does not rely on attack speed, as they have a constant attack speed regardless if there is a buff or not. The second passive skill is an increase in movement. Now this is a useful skill especially in PvP, since a Taekwon is a melee class. They can easily chase down their opponents. In PvE, this is not really that useful as we normally use our mounts to travel from one location to another. Remember, the passive skill will only take effect if you are running in a straight line. Once you change direction, the effect will be cancelled. The third passive skill is the typical increase your damage skill. This will increase your physical attack based on your strength, and it also increases your physical penetration. Now, moving on to the active skills, the first active skill is quite interesting, which is the Fighting Chant. This skill increases attack of all party members within its range. Now, based from the description, it is written that it increases the attack, so I think this is applicable for both physical and magical attacks. The only thing that is quite complicated with this skill is that it has a range. So the party members should always be inside the skill's range to gain the buff. At the same time, the Taekwon won't be able to move when using this skill, because once the Taekwon moves in any direction, the skill will be cancelled. So I'm interested on how players will use this skill in battle. Obviously, this skill will only be used in certain situations, like boss hunts and PvP. I don't really recommend using this skill in AFK grinding, as the Taekwon cannot move when the skill is active. The second active skill is the Flying Sidekick. Now this skill has a dash forward animation, which means that this skill can either be used as a way to get close or get away from your opponent. My only problem with this skill is that you can only dash forward to the direction to which your character is facing. Unlike the body relocation of Ashura, you can control the direction to which you want to dash forward. One thing that I've noticed as well is that the skill will not activate in auto. You have to manually trigger this skill. Again, this skill is more of a situational skill and not for AFK grinding. Going to the third active skill, Now this is something new. This is a skill that we haven't seen in any of the other job class in this game. The Taekwon quest skill gives the player an additional daily quest which grants additional XP rewards. On top of that, when the skill is used, it also gives a final damage reduction to the Taekwon for 12 hours. Now that's interesting, because not only do you have an additional way of gaining experience, this skill also gives the Taekwon more survivability, and it's for 12 hours. Moving on to the last 3 active skills. Now these are the skills that you will be using for PvE and PvP as a Taekwon. First is the Rising Kick. This skill launches the target in the air, which I think is similar to a stun because opponents won't be able to move for a short period of time. It also has a damage increase coefficient for every 36 strength that you have. Although, this is quite hard to max out because in order to gain 100% damage increase, you need to have 2,700 strength points. So I guess, reaching the 450% limit is not really a realistic thing to do. Now, the final description in the skill is quite interesting, because whenever the skill deals damage, you restore 1 energy. Although as a Taekwon, the energy is not yet that important because the Feeling of the Stars skill is only available when you reach the Star Gladiator job. Moving on to the Round Kick. Now, this is also a good skill to have because instead of having a knock-up on the opponent, this skill regenerates your HP. At the same time, this is also an AoE damage, which means that all the opponents within the skill range will be hit. Again, it also has the same damage increase based on your strength, and it also has a way of restoring your energy depending on the number of targets that were hit. On to the last Taekwon skill, which is the Shattering Kick. Now the new effect for this skill is it can reduce the opponent's physical defense, and it can stack up to 10 times. At maximum stacks, the physical defense will be lowered by 50%. Now that we've covered all the skills, the main thing that you need to check when playing the Taekwon is the variable cooldown of each skill. Since using a high-level skill also requires a high amount of haste to compensate for the variable cooldown. In this example, since this is only for testing purposes, and this character is not using the strength or dex stat, I can only use level 5 of each skill. And by the way, these skills are like the combo skills of Ashura, as long as you are able to cancel out the variable cooldown for each skill. Let me give you an example. If you can hit 1 monster in a combo, then you don't need to use normal attacks. Just use the 3 skills in successive order. Now, one thing that I'm confused about is the Taekwon's size effect multiplier. Because when you read the definition in the weapon, it says that the normal attacks deal 60% physical damage and 50% physical damage to large monsters. Does that mean that it can deal 110% physical damage? It's quite confusing, right? But if you check the size modifier in the Adventurer's Handbook, the tome can only deal 50% damage to large monsters and 100% damage to both small and medium monsters. So the definition in the weapon and in the handbook are quite misleading. Moving on to the second job class, which is the Star Gladiator class. Most of the skills in this job are passive skills that enhances the active skills in the Taekwon class. So the first skill, which is the Axe Kick, it is a continuation skill for the Rising Kick. After using the Rising Kick, the skill will change into an Axe Kick and now it has a new debuff effect, which reduces the opponent's move speed. And not only that, the Rising Kick was a single target skill. Now, the Axe Kick becomes an AoE skill which inflicts debuff on the surrounding enemies. Now that's really nice. Once you've unlocked the Axe Kick, there is also an ultimate skill which is the Ultimate Axe Kick. So basically, this is a better version of the Axe Kick as the debuff becomes a stun to nearby enemies. However, there is a condition in order to activate this skill. This is where the energy accumulation will be used. So first, let's read the description of the Feeling of the Stars skill. When you have unlocked this skill, all the damage dealt by your normal attacks and non-ultimate skill allows you to gain energy. Even the damage taken also grants you energy. This feels like the gentle touch of the Shura, if I'm going to be honest. Is this the reason why the Shura was nerfed?
Interesting.
Once you reach 100 energy, It will all be consumed and converted into a star for 6 seconds, maximum of 3 stars. This skill also has a continuation, which is the warmth of the stars. Whenever the Taekwon has a star stack, there is a chance that the damage taken is reduced by 10%. And when the union of the stars is active, this effect will be applied to all party members. Now that is a really nice buff for the team. Now that we've covered the energy accumulation, let's now talk about the energy consumption. And that skill is the Union of the Stars. So whenever you use the Union of the Stars skill, it will consume 1 star and the Taekwon gains Endure and additional physical attack for 6 seconds. However, when you are in the Union of the Stars state, you cannot gain energy. The next skill to this is the Anger of the Stars, which is also an active skill. The condition for these skills is that it will consume 3 stars and it will decrease your final damage bonus by 64% and movement speed by 2 for 3 seconds. That's interesting because this is like a debuff to yourself. What? However, after using the skill, the Taekwon summons a meteor in your area which damages yourself and all opponents nearby.
Are you kidding me?
Now why would I damage myself? So when opponents are hit by the meteor, they will receive a debuff that reduces their movement speed. At the same time, when you are in this state, you cannot gain any energy as well. What an interesting skill. Now that we've understood the basics about the energy accumulation and consumption, let's do a test and try to trigger the ultimate skill. I'm not gonna lie, those are some nice combo animations. Also note that the stacks of stars are seen in the lower right side of the screen, near your attack button. Let's now check the ultimate skills for this job. From the round kick, it will now turn into a whirlwind kick, and this has the same effect as the previous skill. The ultimate whirlwind kick also has the same effect as the first 2 skills. Moving on to the final skill, which is the ignition kick. This is the enhanced version of the shattering kick. Again, this has the same debuff effect as the shattering kick. However, the ultimate ignition kick has a different effect from the first 2 as it now deals additional true damage based on the enemy's max HP. Don't be fooled by the high damage output because the true damage is based on the enemy's max HP. And the training dummy has a very high max HP, which is why I am able to deal that amount of damage. Now that we've tested the ultimate skills, let's now try to trigger the Anger of the Stars skill. This is interesting because I can't seem to trigger the Anger of the Stars skill on auto. Even though I have already met the 3-star condition, the skill is not triggering when you are in auto state. I guess I'll have to click it manually. Am I doing something wrong? I don't see any meteors being summoned when I activate the skill. It only uses the ultimate skills. Or are there any other condition to trigger this skill?
Hold up! Wait a minute! Something ain't right!
And that's it for today's video. I will be continuing the Star Monarch and Stellar Fist on a different video, so make sure to subscribe to be updated on the next one. Some things to note in this test is that this job class feels like and is very similar to Ashura, especially in the accumulation and consumption of energy. Both job classes rely on this condition to trigger skills and deal high amounts of damage. It seems like the same class but the other one is using their hands, while this class is using their feet. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to see more ROX content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. GG!
You're a superhero.